So I'm Lynn Joyce. I was born October 25th, 1985 in Brooklyn, New York. And I have two older brothers. And I remember I came home from school and I told my mom that I wanted to be in gymnastics because my friends were doing gymnastics and I thought it looked really cool. And my mom said that both my brothers wanted to be on the swim team. So that was my choice, was to be on the swim team. And I think I went to one practice of theirs where I sat in the bleachers and watched, and then after that I was like, okay, enough of this, I'm getting in the pool. And I think I just took to it right away. I loved chasing my brothers up and down the pool. Being the youngest and the only girl, you kind of get put in situations that you don't really want to be in a lot, like getting thrown in, their swim practice, or playing with their friends. And I think I developed just a really competitive nature from having these older brothers, and we were all pretty close in age too, and I fell in love with swimming that way. The moment I stepped on campus, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like the sun came out and like the stars were everything was just like lined up. Swimming for Jack and Harvey for as long as I did, and swimming for the University of Georgia, one of the things that I was always so proud of, I could go to any meet with my team. I could go to SEC championships or NCAAs or USA Swimming Nationals, and like so many kids on the pool deck that had taken trips to Georgia and maybe signed with Auburn or Florida or wherever, but so many kids would always come up to Jack and Harv and be like, hey, how's it going? Great to see you again. And Jack and Harv would always give them the time of day. They remembered their names. And I just don't know of any other coach that maintained relationships with recruits that didn't even sign there. And I think it just shows the kind of character that they had and really what they stood for. My first event at trials was the 200 free, and I ended up finishing in 7th place, and they take top 6 to the Olympics. So I finished just out of making the Olympics by 3/100ths of a second. And that was even a surprise to make it to finals in the 200. It wasn't my best event, but knowing that I finished that well in the 200, I remember Jack being like, Kay, he called me Kay. Kay, this is going to be great for your 100. And while I was devastated, he's right. It obviously I was swimming fast, and it was going to get me ready for my 100. And so I swam prelims of the 100, made it to semifinals, swam semifinals of the 100, made it to finals, and each swim was the best time. And I remember right before going into the ready room to walk out for the 100 free, Jack pulls me out and he's like, Kay, one more thing. He's like, we're not swimming for 6th place. We're not swimming for 2nd place. We're swimming for 1st place. And I was like, okay, Jack, you got it. And, went out, had a ton of fun. I was super relaxed, super happy, and I won. And yeah, there's nothing like that feeling of accomplishment where everything comes together, and it's not just a sense of personal accomplishment. It's like you and your coach, we did this together, and your teammates, everyone helped me get here. And it might be you standing on the podium, but it's all of these people beneath you that helped you achieve that. And I'll never forget that. And being able to have, Jack all the way through the Athens meet, he was there for everything, and it was really special. And after that, Jack coached me to the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, where he was the head coach of the women's team. I didn't have the best Olympic trials, but I was able to turn it around, and I think that's something that Jack is so good at. He's like, Kay, this wasn't your best meet at trials, but you have an opportunity in the next 4 weeks before the Olympics to make this your best meet. He's like, you can turn everything around. And that really stuck with me through training camp. And I went to the Olympics and swam best times. And again, just being able to share that with my coach is pretty amazing. Well, I was lucky to have a lot of really great coaches, and it started with my mom. My mom was my first coach for 10 years. I think from the time I was 5 until I was 15, and she coached me to Olympic trials in 2000. And just having that bond, that relationship with my mom, and just learning how to be a racer, learning how to be competitive. And if there were times where I didn't want to go to practice, it was the bus is leaving, the bus is going to practice. Are you really going to sit at home? And I think I tried that a couple times, and it just never really sat well. And so, it definitely instilled a good work ethic with me. And like I mentioned, having my brothers to chase up and down the pool every day. was pretty awesome. I can say like my first hero was Summer Sanders. I watched her in the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. I watched it on TV, and from that point on, watching Summer win a gold medal in the 200 butterfly, I knew that I wanted to be an Olympic swimmer. From that point on, I mean, every time I would get the Speedo catalog in the mail, I would like cut Summer's picture out and put it on my bulletin board. And in 2000, I swam at Olympic trials, and I got 75th place. And I remember being just devastated and embarrassed. And my mom came into the locker room and she's like, Kara, we don't have to talk about your swim, but just come out to the pool deck. I want you to meet somebody. And so I'm like, you know, still crying, and go out to the pool deck. And this woman turns around and she's like, hi, Kara, I'm Summer Sanders. And she sat down next to me and she's like, you know what, Kara, you're 14, you're at Olympic trials. That's a big accomplishment. She's like, don't worry about not making the Olympics. She's like, I went to trials when I was 15. I didn't make it either. And then aside from Summer Sanders, I would definitely say my brothers. I've looked up to them my whole life. You know, as hard as I worked to chase them up and down the pool, I think they worked twice as hard to make sure I never could beat them. But sometimes I did still. But, you know, they were always so supportive. And my brothers never made Olympic trials. They didn't make the Olympics, but they were always there in the stands cheering for me. It doesn't matter what country it was, or, you know, they would come to all my NCAA meets, and they were my biggest supporters and probably my biggest heroes in this sport.